Hi, my name is David Crow with Grace Bible Church, and this is Frank Pass. We serve as pastors at Grace Bible Church along with Matt Neal. Pastor Frank was just giving an overview of Ecclesiastes 1 through 6 this morning. And while we were reviewing that, the matter of hope and hopelessness was a very prevalent theme, as would be expected when you get to the book of Ecclesiastes. But there's a lot of people that are of despair, that they desire hope, they desire help, a salvation as it were, a rescuing. And so I'd like to ask you, Frank, is there a hope that can be available, and more along the lines of what does that look like? How does Solomon articulate, how do the scriptures articulate in the book of Ecclesiastes for someone that doesn't know the scriptures, doesn't know the Lord, but they just lack hope? Is there hope there? And then for those who claim to be in Christ, what's the nature of their hope that Solomon affirms?
I think a lot of people out there want hope, particularly hope beyond the grave, but even hope in this life, and that's what Solomon's dealing with in the book of Ecclesiastes. On the one hand, he's recognizing the inequities of this life and the frustration of this life and the fact that there are things that don't go the way that you think they should. On the other hand, he, along the way in the book, punctuates it with what we call joy refrains. The idea that despite these inequities and despite these things that came about as a result of man's initial fall, recorded back for us in Genesis 1 through 3, you can still have joy, you can still have satisfaction, you can still have hope. So that's what Solomon's going back and forth between in the book of Ecclesiastes. As far as the means for that hope, and this is very clear from the book as well, it's fearing God. It's recognizing that there is one God. He's made the heavens and the earth. He's sovereign over all that he's made. He has made it possible for us to be reconciled to him despite the fall. And the way that you have that hope is to fear God and keep his commandments, to recognize that everything that you have, all the material blessings, all the family relationships, all the friends, everything comes from him. That gives you joy and hope in this life. And also, when you know God and when you know the gospel, Solomon's not talking about the gospel in his book, but moving to your second question about a New Testament believer today, we have hope because we know Christ. We've been reconciled to God. And the nature of our hope, I think, is even greater than what Solomon had, in that we know about the coming of Christ, the second coming of Christ, and all that will take place there. We have a hope of life beyond the grave, not just as spirits floating around in heaven, but as new creatures with new bodies and a new heavens and new earth. That is the hope that sustains us. It sustains us through even the worst kinds of difficulties in this life, even through death of our loved ones if they know Christ, even through our own deaths. We have hope beyond the grave, and it's because of what Christ has done. And it's hope, not wishful thinking the way that we often think about hope, but hope in the sense of something that's certain to come to pass and we just have to wait for it. That's what biblical hope is. We have that hope as a result of Christ.